Tracking mattresses. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today this video is all about macros. Now macros I think are a really important foundation to leading a fitness lifestyle, and this video could be a good introduction if you've never heard of or tried the IIFYM, which is If It Fits Your Macros lifestyle before. I've got my computer here because I asked people on Instagram if they had any questions they wanted answering in this video, and also I've got some bullet points to make sure I cover all the bases. I'm going to start by discussing what a macro is. Macro is short for macronutrient, and the three most commonly tracked macros are your carbohydrates, proteins and fats. Now, carbohydrates are our source of energy, protein helps build and repair muscles, and fat's function is to regulate hormones, which is why it's particularly important that women maintain a fairly high fat diet. Every gram of carb and protein contains 4 calories, and every gram of fat contains 9 calories. And it's how you, or whatever system you choose to calculate your macros, will work out and how to apportion your calorific intake. Before I get into the full video, I just want to say, before you start tracking macros, you need to consider if it's right for you, if it's right for your goals, and perhaps your relationship with food. So if you are someone who has struggled with an eating disorder in the past, or knows you can get quite obsessive over numbers, then it's probably not the system for you, just because it requires being quite specific and you don't want to encourage obsessive behaviour. If you do try macros and it gets to the point that you think you're getting a bit obsessive, what I'll do is I will link some mental health and eating disorders charities down below, because I want this to be a positive experience for everyone, and I want to create a positive community where people don't feel pressured to take on a certain lifestyle, or if they're struggling, they don't know where to turn. On the other hand, if you have plateaued in your weight loss, or you want to try this IIFYM lifestyle, then tracking macros might be for you. Tracking macros has 2 main uses. They are cutting and bulking. Now, cutting is when you want to lose weight or fat, and in this instance you will be in a calorie deficit. This means you will be consuming fewer calories than you are expending in your day-to-day life. If you are bulking, it's often used by people who want to build muscle and gain weight, in which case you are going to be eating in a calorie surplus. So you are going to be consuming more calories than you burn. So my first bit of advice for tracking macros would be to invest in some food scales. The major change for me when I came to university, and what kind of kick-started my weight loss, was understanding what a portion size was, an appropriate portion size was. I come from a family of 5 where we cook large dinners, and when you go to university, obviously I went from that to cooking for 1. But once you have invested in food scales, my first bit of advice would be to use an app such as MyFitnessPal to track your eating habits over a period of at least a week, maybe even 2. I'm happy to do another video on MyFitnessPal because I think it functions really well as a diary to keep track and just maintain awareness of what you are eating. Once you've tracked for a week, maybe 2, you will have a good idea of what your average kind of calorific intake is, and whether your diet is particularly high in carbs, fats, whatever. There are a few figures that you need to know in order to successfully track macros. Now, if you use an online calculator, it'll often do this for you, so I'm not going to go into the maths, I'm just going to explain what these terms mean. So BMR is your base metabolic rate. And base metabolic rate essentially means that if you are in a coma for a month, it is the number of calories that your body would burn whilst you're doing absolutely nothing. So it's the calories that your body burns by digestion, respiration, using your brain. It doesn't account for any physical exercise or energy expenditure. Your TDEE is your total daily energy expenditure. Now this figure does use aspects of your lifestyle and exercise to calculate how much roughly you are expending through processes such as whether you have an active job, a sedentary job, how many times you weight train, how many times you do cardio a week, and it's really important in terms of adjusting your calorific intake to how active you usually are. You will also need to know your height and weight when using one of these calculators. I've recently recalculated my macros, which is a really important thing to do. If you have not been tracking them for a while, if your weight has fluctuated, it's really good just to kind of check back in with your goals and where your body is at the moment. So I use the IIFYM website. I will put the link down below, and for me it has been the best calculator for accurate macros that I have had progress with. In addition to this, I have scales called VSync Fit. I think my boyfriend got it off Amazon. I will also link that down below if anyone's interested. And I've been tracking my weight on and off, not as regularly as perhaps I should, but from about the beginning of June. These scales are really useful. They give you a breakdown of your BMR, your body water percentage, and even your metabolic age. These aren't strictly necessary for when you're just starting out with macros, but just to give you an idea of where I might have got some of my figures from. My BMR is currently around 1,352 calories. Now this was calculated from the VSync Fit scales, but I also used a website which gave me exactly the same result, and you don't need to put any other information. You don't need to put any information other than age, height and weight. So TDEE, as I mentioned, is another really important figure. It takes into account the physical activity you do, the nature of your job, etc, etc. So for example, when using the IIFYM calculator, I've put that sadly I'm not doing any weight training at the moment, but I'm trying to have at least 5 active days, about half an hour's exercise each of those, and the job I'm going into is going to be quite sedentary. And it's really important to be honest about this. Don't think if you put that you don't do any exercise, it's going to come out with a result that says eat 100 calories a day. It's not anything ridiculous like that. So the more active you are, the higher your TDEE is going to be, so the macro systems will allocate more calories to you. According to this website, my TDEE is currently around 1,599 calories a day. But if I were to be training heavily, so that they categorise as 2 times a day, every day of the week, really intense, I would be burning around 2,517 calories a day. So you can see how much your TDEE impacts your macro results. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put on the screen my IIFYM results. So instead of actually posting my results straight away, I just thought I'd do a screen recording of using IIFYM.com. So as you can see, I'm putting in my height, followed by my current weight, and then I'm estimating a sort of goal weight. I think I put it down to about 10 pounds difference. And then I go through, put that my day job is quite sedentary.
I am not doing any strength training at the moment. And then cardio, I'm aiming for 5 days a week, around 30 minutes a day. And as you can see, you have to kind of rate that activity, whether it's light, moderate, difficult, or intense. Then it gets you to say how fast you want to lose weight. I'd usually go for steady and sustainable, and I don't have any medical diagnoses. And then I've put that I follow a vegan or vegetarian diet. This next section is literally just about what services IIFYM can provide you with, and then you get to rate how experienced you are with tracking macros. I initially went with Total Pro because I am in fact making this video, but I settled for moderate. And then you simply put in your name, your email address, and once you've signed up, you get to see the macros on the next page, and they also get emailed to you.
I don't mind sharing my weight, my height, any of my measurements or my calorific intake, but if you feel that that's going to upset you, impact negatively on your body image or mental health, then please just ignore them. Don't, and for anyone really, don't compare your macros to my own or your measurements to my own, because as I have been saying, it's a very unique system, which is why it works, but you should never fall into the trap of thinking they're eating fewer carbs than me, therefore I should. It is entirely individual and unique in that sense. My current measurements and the results that IIFYM have produced for me are: I weigh 130 pounds, I am 5'3" and a half, 5'4" on a good day, thank you very much. IIFYM has produced the following results. So they recommend I aim to eat 81 grams of protein a day, 53 grams of fat, 155 grams of carbs, and 1,421 calories. Now this is because I put my goals as losing weight and relatively quickly, because although I don't condone any fast weight loss products or lifestyles, I am just getting back into it, and I do have a goal for going away to Greece in September. Now you have a relatively good idea of your regular intake, you have got your macros in front of you, you have to put them into practice. It can seem really restrictive and a little bit scary at first if you've never used these apps, if you've never used this system before, but I say stick with it, give it a go. But if after a month then you still don't feel happy or comfortable tracking macros, then forget it. You know, it's obviously not the system for you. If it doesn't work for you, don't stress, you're not a failure. It doesn't mean you're never going to lose weight. It's not like this golden, amazing, special, funky thing that fits everyone. It does not suit everyone, but it is talked about a lot in the fitness community, which is why I thought I would produce this video, and it has personally helped me a lot. So the key thing is consistency. Don't stress about hitting the exact figures every day. As long as you are within about 5% either side of your ideal macros, then you should notice results. It's really helpful to think of the macro lifestyle in terms of 80-20. Now by this I mean 80% of the time you're hitting your macros, you're getting your water intake, you are sticking to those goals. The other 20% of the time, it really doesn't matter if you go out for a meal and you think, oh my god, I've gone over my fats, you know, I've just had a fuck off Big Mac and cheese. Doesn't matter. As long as you aren't doing that every single day, then you're going to see results. If you try the 80-20 approach, it's a really good way to make macros fit your lifestyle, you know, whatever you have planned with family, friends, and also it definitely stops it becoming an obsession, because you don't pressure yourself to be perfect human macro machine every day of the week. So I'm going to be following my macros from now until I go away in September. I'm thinking of posting some results and updating you on how my macro journey is going. I really recommend going onto the IIFYM website, inputting your details and just seeing what they come up with. So now I'm going to go into the Q&As. I've taken any questions I've been asked on Instagram and also looked at commonly asked questions on the web, so that everyone hopefully feels like all bases have been covered and they can confidently go out there and track their macros. Someone has asked if macro tracking is the new fad diet. I would never ever condone a fad diet because it's not sustainable, and also following a macro plan, it doesn't promise overnight results. So it's not like eat this one day and you'll wake up with the body of your dreams. Like it's nothing like that. I think the main point of macros is getting people to be aware of what they are eating so you can make smarter decisions. You know, there's like Michelle Obama, right? I'm gonna look it up. There's a Michelle Obama quote. It was a quote from Michelle Obama talking about how she raises her daughters in terms of making sure that they don't fall into these diet patterns and stuff and fad diets, and making sure they have a healthy relationship with food and their body image. And it was a quote saying she never like restricts them. She's never like, no, you can't eat those crisps. She literally just says to her daughters, you know, this quote was like, did you eat pie yesterday? And they're like, yes. And she's like, should you eat pie again today? And they're like, maybe not. It's literally just an awareness thing. I don't know where this ramble came from. I'm loving it, loving the quotes. There are some really good Michelle Obama quotes out there. So food quality and food quantity are both important in terms of tracking macros. In theory, you could lose weight if you just ate potatoes, picking that food out of thin air. If you just ate potatoes, one meal a day, it was a load of baked potatoes, okay? As long as you are eating in a calorie deficit, you will lose weight, okay? That's what there is to it. However, over time, that's not sustainable. You're not gonna wanna eat just one meal a day that's just potatoes, and you will probably feel like shit. You will probably feel like a potato. So it is important to take micronutrients into consideration, so things like vitamins, minerals. That is it for today's video, guys. I hope it's been informative. If you do have any questions, I'm available on social media. Feel free to drop a comment here or send me a DM on Instagram, because I am more than happy to help people with navigating these websites, using MyFitnessPal, or just general chats about macros overall. So all that's left to say is thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you did enjoy it, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you very soon.